why your sauna sessions, infrared sauna sessions, aren't working for you. If I come at you with tough love, or if I'm harping on you on something, it's not because I'm judging you for the choices that you make. I made the same ones. Question comes in from you guys and it says, Matt, I'm not getting the results that I expected from my infrared sauna sessions. This is happening. I'm gonna keep the personal details that you asked to remain private. But basically I'll summarize by saying, you feel like from your sauna sessions. You felt great at first, but then you're doing them every day, and then you're also having headaches, you're also feeling sluggish. I have to give you a little tough love here. No one knows better than me that when you have health challenges and you have brain fog and chronic fatigue and you have all these complications, it can be really difficult to digest some of this info. In the past 6 years, I've put 700 videos on YouTube. There's a lot of information out there, and there's no excuse for not going and looking at some of it. Part of this, I'll take responsibility for it right now because I've been through this myself, struggled with it immensely. That's the only reason I have motivation to make so much content for you guys and to do this. Told myself, if I get through this, I'm gonna go make it easier for somebody else because I was struggling through it and I wasn't getting the results that I wanted. And I was paying thousands of dollars for this practitioner or this coach or this course or this, that, and the other. What would happen is that I would find stuff that would work. And part of your struggle right now is that there's almost too much information available out there online. And if you don't know exactly what specific stuff to search for, you really just spin your wheels. It's information overload. And like I said, I'll take responsibility for some of this because I should have a book, a guide, an ebook, a hand guide that shows you like an actual sauna detox schedule. And I've been writing a book for it for like 2 years. Right? And just life gets in the way and I just, it's hard for me sometimes to sit down and just do a brain dump. It's all up here. I have everything, right? If someone would just come up with a way to read my brain, we'd have it in 24 hours, right? What does a sauna detox binder even do? Why do I need them? There's so much confusion and I see it week in and week out in my own sauna group. You're confusing synthetic chelation with natural chelators or mobilizers, with natural binders, with artificial or synthetic binders, right? There's multiple categories. And no one is taking the time to explain to you because they want to sell you some program where you come and do labs with them, or you do like an HTMA analysis, or you do some type of mineral rebalancing. You do something with them that they charge you a bunch of money for. Nothing wrong with that. All those things have their place when implemented correctly. The issue is you are not comprehending or computing the foundational principles of what a binder is truly doing and why you would want to pair that with your sauna sessions in the beginning, doing that in the right sequence, in the right timing, at the right dose, at the right week in, week out schedule. You're not comprehending what's actually happening. So you're going by the hearsay of the internet. You're thinking that binder protocols are chelation. They're not. They don't mobilize unless you actually have some type of mobilizing agent in a compounded binder or some type of multifaceted, protocol or supplement or drug, right? Some of these are prescription drugs. Just depends on what you're talking about. But everyone is dumping that into the same category. It's not. Just like you can't just take charcoal around a specific RX medication because it'll gobble it up. No one is basically saying, hey Jane, hey John, whoever. There's a reason that when you take charcoal or some type of natural, it could even be psyllium husk, could give some medications trouble, right? If you take something that's absorbent and you pair that with a prescription medication and the timing is off or the sequence is off, it will render the medication ineffective. So people are so confused. I just saw a lady the other day, I didn't understand where she was coming from, so I politely asked. She thinks that you should not take binders if you have amalgams in your mouth. That's not true at all. That is not true at all, as long as there's not a mobilizing agent in them. It is correct that you should not do synthetic chelation if you have amalgams in your mouth, but you're also not taking into account the leaching that's been happening for years, right? That's the point of the binders. The point of the binders around amalgam removal, which is a different context, but I gotta make a video for those guys too, is that if there's any grinding, drilling, or any micronized particles being released during a removal procedure, you want to have the intestinal tract lined with binders. You also want to do a mouth swishing solution to do the same thing. I need to make whiteboard videos that show you basically the digestive tract and the point at which the binder activates and how it's going to gobble something up that your body would reintroduce as a recirculation complication due to gut permeability, due to a health challenge. It could be all kinds of stuff, right? You would have to watch a 3-hour Dr. Klinghardt video or something in German half the time overseas to understand what happens when you have mercury leaching into the gut from amalgams for like 20 years, like I did, how that presents as complication. If you have parasites or you have other things in the gut, how they would hold on to something like that. So if you did a premature parasite cleanse before your body was ready to handle something like that, you feel disastrous. I mean, it is catastrophe. Why? You had something that was encapsulated by something else. None of it's good for you, but you're breaking open the encapsulation at a rate that your body cannot excrete. And then you wonder why you feel like shit. But yet if you go to a practitioner, they'll sell you a detox course, right, that's accelerated without taking into account, have you had baseline labs? Does anyone know where you're at? This is something that happened to me 6 years ago. If a practitioner just sells you this, that, and the other, let's close that out first before we do that, before we get into that. If you're having amalgam removal and stuff like that, I don't advise chelation at all. And besides, I wouldn't do synthetic chelation unless I had a practitioner running my labs to monitor me, because you can get all kinds of stuff out of whack. Second thing is, I wouldn't do synthetic chelation around amalgam removal anyway. I would do sauna and some other light things to give my body a chance to remove the body burden of mercury that's been sequestered, and other toxic metals actually, that have been sequestered in my fat cells or stored in my fat cells, deposited around the body to keep them away from the organs. It's a protection mechanism. It's actually saving your life with acute exposure, the way that it works. No one explains it to you like that. They just use fear and tell you that it's all bad because it's easier to sell you. But sometimes the stuff that they're selling you, it's not that they have ill intent or anything. It's that the timing of implementing it is wrong for your health challenge timeline because of where you're at. For me personally, if I were going to get amalgams removed again, and I'm going to do a special video on this because I did not go to a IAOMT certified dentist. I wish I would have. We did 2 or 3 of the safety protocols that they implement, but they're a lot more strict. And I probably wouldn't have had the issues 6 months after I got my fillings removed if I had done that. I didn't know any better. I did the best that I could with the information that I had. Meanwhile, it created an absolute uproar in my life, destroyed normal day-to-day operations of my body over time, right? And I wouldn't do it again in the same fashion. That's why I have the fuel and the energy, right, to come and share this with you or to make these with you. It's a passion of mine now. How do I summarize? Because I'm gonna break this up into a series of videos so that it's still digestible. One of them needs to be a whiteboard video. I wanna show you what happens throughout your digestion and why an intestinal binder is valid for a lot of people. I wanna articulate how a sauna can induce light mobilization depending on how you're using it. But if you have another health challenge or complication, is most likely the reason that you're either getting headaches or you're having some type of ill effect from the sauna. Or some of you are just doing too much. You don't need to sauna every day. I don't know who told you that, but if you've never done infrared sauna before, every other day to 3 times a week is plenty for you to start out with. Let your body adjust. If you haven't been to the gym in 5 years, do you think you would go hit a PR tomorrow? Well, maybe, but you're gonna kill yourself in the process, and your joints and your tendons and everything else is not conditioned because you haven't worked out in so long. So I don't know why when you apply heat stress or heat therapy, people have a different expectation, right? It's much the same. There's a calibration of the body there. So give it a chance, give it time. A lot of times, if you are initiating a process that's giving you ill effect from your sauna sessions, you can counteract that with light binder use. I'm not saying go buy a detox protocol. I'm not saying sign up for some course that I come out with. If I had it, I should pitch it to you right now because I think it would save you a lot of headache. But if you just go to a practitioner and they're like, oh yeah, you should take cilantro and chlorella. No, you don't need some concentrated drops of something that can naturally induce mobilization when the timing is wrong, when your body's not right. Very, very, very light binder. No mobilization that's unnecessary. Just let the sauna and the body do its thing. Detoxification from sauna use is not something that, one product over another is necessarily creating. Yes, some saunas are more effective than others, right? But that's not what it means. What it means is that you're facilitating and supporting a process that exists already. It's just down-regulated in this case. So the sauna is incredibly helpful for that. It's the best tool in the game for that. Because it effortlessly, it's not forcing you to do something like a synthetic chelation when the time is not right. And you have signals. If you feel bad or it's too much, you feel like you want to get out. So listen and do that. I need to do whiteboard videos for you next. I need to do a specific dental amalgam removal, what I would do if I went through that again to save myself all the trouble. It's my fault. I apologize. I don't have, the sauna books done that we've been working on for years. I need to just get them out. Part of me has a little bit of perfectionism. I want it to be perfect. I want to make sure that it helps people as much as it possibly can. I have this fear that I'm going to leave something out, not because I don't know it. It's so broad and so detailed that I could easily something that's commonplace to me isn't necessarily what a beginner needs. And I just skip that and forget that because I've been doing it for so many years. So a lot of it is me going back and saying, okay, if I was starting from scratch and I knew nothing, or if I was seeing a functional medicine practitioner for the first time and I'd never been through this process before, what do I need to know that's absolutely critical for me to get good results from this, right? And how do I get the most out of these sauna sessions? I take responsibility for that. We should have these resources done. I'll get cranking on this. I don't know how long it'll take me to get them done, but when I do, I'll announce it. Hopefully we'll put a book on Amazon or something, or we'll just put an ebook on the website. It doesn't really matter at this point. It's just condensing 700 videos down so that you can actually just look in one place and be like, what am I supposed to do? Right. So I totally get that. And then if you guys have other questions specific to certain things, put them in the comments and I'll add those to the follow-up video. The biggest thing is consistency, making sure that you're not dehydrated. Everyone says, oh yeah, I'm hydrated. That's not why I'm not sweating, or that's not why I feel ill. But then I ask you questions and I go through what your routine looks like. 2 days ago, you had 4 glasses of wine. No judgment. When I got out of leukemia treatment, I went to dinner with friends and family because I hated the food in the hospital so much that it was like a privilege just to be able to do anything. The oncology team told me not to drink, for the year on that protocol. Do you think I listened to them? Hell no. I almost died, I almost lost my life. Of course I had a beer with friends and family and stuff like that. So I myself in my life have been through quite the extremes on both sides of the spectrum, right? So if I come at you with tough love, or if I'm harping on you on something, it's not because I'm judging you for the choices that you make. I made the same ones, right? And I don't see that there's anything wrong with that. I really don't. You gotta live your life, there has to be balance. But we want to be able to live our lives and perform better so we enjoy better. We have better relationships, we make more money, we're more prosperous, we help, more people. That's my goals. Being of service to the community basically trained me on what to do. At the time it was all out, external, it was all for them. But now came the time when it was for me. And bing, bang, boom. I just knew exactly what to do. And so I'm very grateful for that. And I don't judge you guys for your decisions, but when I come in with the harshness, when I come in with the, I want to grab you by the shoulders and just look at you and be like, I love you, but what the f are you doing? So back to the example, if you decide that you had however many glasses of wine 2 days ago, and you're doing your sauna session now, and you've just been drinking a little water in between, and your diet sucks or is not that great, and you have health challenges, and now you want to know why you're having ill effect from a good sauna session, your body is trying to tell you something. If you're replenishing minerals or electrolytes directly with binder usage or something, there's a percentage of those that are kind of getting gobbled up. I don't worry about it too much. I take stuff together sometimes. I don't really care, if it down regulates the absorption of some of that or some of it's whatever, right? But I'm paying attention to hydration 48 hours in advance, right? If I know, when my sauna sessions are, it's like, okay, well, I need to be pre-hydrated like yesterday if I'm gonna sauna today. It doesn't start just the hour before. You can't run your body into the ground and then just drink a liter of water right before you get in the sauna and then try to cram all this stuff in. Taking minerals and, man, I took the electrolytes and I did the binders and I still feel like shit. Well, no kidding. Look at the pace that your body is running at. I hope that makes sense to you. I'm gonna end the video here. Let me know in the comments what you would like me to include in the part 2, and then I'll get on the whiteboard, the binder, the amalgam, and anything else that you guys need. Love you. We'll see you in the next one.